Let me ask you something powerful. Who owns your first hour? Is it your phone, your boss, notifications, or is it you? Before the world comes knocking, before you let the demands of life pour in, you must claim the first 60 minutes of your day. That's your hour, your sanctuary, your time to shape your mind, your energy, and your direction. Because how you start determines how far you'll go. Most people wake up and immediately hand over their power. They scroll, they reply, they react. Here's the truth. When you start your day in reaction mode, you give the steering wheel of your life to someone else. You're not creating, you're chasing. You're not building, you're bouncing from task to task. That's not leadership, that's survival. But when you choose intentionally to give that first hour to yourself, everything changes. Start by breathing. Get present. Feel your body. Ground yourself. This is your moment to reconnect to your mission, not just your calendar. Take 10 minutes to move your body, walk, stretch, jump, lift. Get your blood flowing. That's not just fitness. That's activating your biochemistry for confidence. Now sit with your goals, not the to-do list, your vision. Do you want to create? Who are you becoming? Write it, speak it. Visualize it. Your mind doesn't care whether it's real or imagined. It simply builds toward whatever you focus on. So focus wisely. Maybe you spend the next 15 minutes reading something that elevates you, not doom scrolling, soul building, something that challenges your thinking and expands your potential. Then give yourself a moment of silence, reflection, practice gratitude. Think of what's working, because you cannot access greatness from a state of stress. You access greatness from a state of centered power. And that's what this hour gives you. You may say, but I don't have time. Let's get honest. You don't make time, you prioritize what matters. If your future, your peace, your power matters, then carve out that hour. Even 30 minutes to start, even 15. Just take ownership, because you don't become extraordinary by accident. You become extraordinary through deliberate daily choices. And the first one starts at sunrise. So tomorrow, before anything else, before the noise, the calls, the meetings, give your first hour to yourself. Because when you own your morning, you design your destiny. How you begin your day is one of the most overlooked yet transformative factors in your success, your energy, your mood, and even your long-term identity. The first hour of your day is more than just a slice of time. It is the foundation upon which the entire day is constructed. Just like you wouldn't build a house on a shaky or uneven base, you shouldn't build your life on a morning filled with stress, distractions, or unconscious reactions. What you do in the first 60 minutes upon waking is either constructing the life you want or reinforcing the one you're trying to grow out of. Let's get this straight. Your brain, your body, your emotions, they're all in their most impressionable and receptive state first thing in the morning. The chemistry of your mind is reset. Your nervous system is vulnerable to being conditioned, and that's not a bad thing. That's your opportunity. Most people spend this sacred time either in unconscious repetitions, doing the same thing every morning that leads to the same results, or in reactive mode, responding to messages, emails, news, social media. They don't realize that the first hour sets the tone, the tempo, and the emotional direction for the rest of their day. Your nervous system picks up patterns. It remembers energy. If the first thing you feed is urgency, negativity, noise, overstimulation, you're training it to stay on edge. That edge becomes your norm. That norm becomes your personality. And that personality shapes your destiny. Think about that for a moment. You spend your first hour is not just about getting a jump start on your schedule. It's about who you're becoming on autopilot. If, on the other hand, you protect and optimize your first hour, you flip the script. You're not reacting, you're designing. You're not absorbing the world's chaos, you're creating your own rhythm. You give yourself the most important signal a person can feel: I matter. My focus matters. My mind, my body, my emotions. They are worth investing in before I give myself to the world. There's a reason why high performers, athletes, CEOs, artists, and entrepreneurs obsess over their mornings. It's not because they have more time. It's because they understand leverage. The return on investment from your first hour is exponential. If you fill it with quality, movement, breathwork, intention, visualization, gratitude, goal setting, it echoes across every other hour of the day. You'll make better decisions. You'll speak with more clarity. You'll be less emotionally reactive. You'll feel more grounded. That 1 hour pays dividends in every area: health, productivity, relationships, leadership. Let's break it down further. When you start your day with intentionality, maybe it's just silence and reflection. Maybe it's journaling or stretching or going for a walk. You are giving your nervous system a cue. You are safe. You are grounded. In control, that cue then allows your mind to work creatively rather than defensively. You're no longer in survival mode. You're in growth mode. And that shift is where confidence comes from. Not fake confidence, real confidence. The kind that grows from consistency, not circumstance. Contrast that with someone who wakes up and instantly checks their phone. Their mind is bombarded with updates, problems, marketing, messages, other people's lives. That first hour becomes a mental battlefield, and they haven't even brushed their teeth yet. No wonder they feel overwhelmed. No wonder their anxiety spikes. They've already trained their brain to look outward instead of inward, to compare, to reflect, to chase, not to create. The real cost of losing that first hour isn't just lost time, it's lost alignment. It's the erosion of inner clarity, the weakening of your personal vision. Over time, that compounds into burnout, misdirection, and disconnection from what really matters to you. And the worst part, you may not even realize it, It becomes normal to feel scattered. It becomes acceptable to live in reaction, and slowly you forget what it feels like to be deeply centered. Imagine the opposite. Imagine you wake up and instead of diving into the world's demands, you step into your own presence. You hydrate, you stretch, you breathe deeply, you speak out loud what you're grateful for. You write down 3 clear outcomes you want for the day, not just tasks, but outcomes that move you forward. You maybe visualize a goal, feel it as if it's already done. You read a few pages of something nourishing. Maybe you go for a short walk or move your body with intent. You prime yourself for progress. You build momentum. You feel good. Not because the world gave you permission, but because you gave yourself direction. That is the power of the first hour. Here's the good news. You don't have to overhaul your life to tap into it. You just have to claim it. Start with 15 minutes if an hour feels overwhelming. Start with silence if everything else feels like noise. Most important thing is that it's yours, your energy, your focus, your intention. Do not give that first hour to people, devices, demands, or distractions. Not before you give it to yourself. Because here's the undeniable truth. Your life does not change in massive leaps. It changes in repeated moments of ownership. And that ownership starts the second you open your eyes in the morning. So if you truly want more peace, more energy, more clarity, power, you start by owning the most valuable part of your day, the first hour. Every day, no excuses, no negotiation. Your future is not built in the big moments. It's built in the early ones. So before anything else, give your first hour to yourself. One of the most critical shifts a person can make in life is moving from reacting to owning. It sounds simple. This concept alone can determine whether you spend your life chasing moments or creating them. Whether you constantly feel drained or energized, whether you feel like life is happening to you or through you. Nowhere is this more evident than in how we begin our day. The first hour of the day is where this shift must happen, not later, not when the day slows down, not after your inbox is cleared, right at the start. Because that moment when you wake up, standing at a crossroads, do I respond to the world or do I lead myself first? When you react to life, especially from the moment you open your eyes, you're living on someone else's agenda. That notification that pulls you into work stress. That message that puts you into emotional overdrive. That news article that fills you with fear or frustration. You didn't choose any of those inputs. They came at you. And when you receive them without preparation or intention, they shape your internal state before you've had a chance to choose how you actually want to feel. This is the invisible cost of reaction. You lose control of your emotional state. You might think it's just a message or a headline. What it really does is pull you into a pattern of reactivity that sets the tone for your entire day. You start to chase urgency. You start to act out of pressure. You go from one task to another without clarity. And at the end of the day, you feel like you did a lot, but you didn't really move forward. That's not productivity. That's mental survival. On the other hand, ownership is the decision to consciously lead your thoughts, emotions, focus before the outside world can grab it. It's not about ignoring your responsibilities. It's about priming yourself so you can handle them with presence and power. Ownership is choosing what your mind consumes, what your body feels, your spirit aligns with before anything or anyone else makes those choices for you. That's why protecting the first hour is not just a good habit. It's a fundamental leadership practice, leadership over yourself, the CEO of your energy. The world will always have demands, distractions, and noise, but if you haven't taken the time to center yourself, those forces will control you. You'll get pulled into emotional loops, mental clutter, necessary urgency. Ownership says, I am not available to the world until I am aligned with myself. And you don't need perfect conditions to do this. You don't need an expensive routine, a silent room, or 2 hours of free time. Ownership begins with a decision to pause, a decision to choose what you allow into your mental space, a decision to start your day from a place of clarity instead of chaos. That decision is powerful because it means you're no longer outsourcing your emotional state. You're not depending on external peace to feel internal peace. This is where a lot of people fall into the trap. They think as soon as my work slows down, feel calm. Or once I fix this problem, I'll feel in control again. But they've given their power away. They've tied their inner state to outer conditions. And when you live that way, your peace becomes temporary, your energy becomes unpredictable, and your identity becomes unstable because you're constantly adapting to whatever is loudest around you. Ownership breaks that cycle. It says, let me define my energy before the world defines my day. It says, let me choose my response instead of automatically reacting to whatever comes up. It creates space between the stimulus and the response. And that space is where all your power lies. Let's make this practical. Imagine this, you wake up. The first thing you do is grab your phone. Maybe it's reflex. Maybe it's just a quick check. But what you're really doing is surrendering your mental space to other people's thoughts. You haven't even spoken to yourself yet. Now you're flooded with opinions, problems, and noise. That first decision, checking the phone, is small, but it's symbolic. It's saying, what's out there is more important than what's in here. And that message gets repeated all day long. Now imagine the opposite. You wake up, and for the first 30 minutes, your phone stays off. You move your body, you breathe. You write down 3 things you're grateful for. You think about your priorities. You define the kind of energy you want to bring to your work, your family, your conversations. You might even read something inspiring or speak an affirmation aloud. That's small. Intentional shift is no longer about just feeling good. It's about taking the wheel before the traffic hits. That's the essence of ownership. It's not rigid. It's not perfection. It's about beginning each day with self-direction, that it builds on itself. The more you practice owning your mornings, the more it spills into the rest of your day. You respond to challenges with more composure. You communicate with more certainty. You're less triggered. You're more focused. You're no longer reacting out of survival. You're operating from strategy. And here's the truth: ownership creates identity. Every time you take back the start of your day, you reinforce the belief that you are in charge of your life. That belief becomes your standard. And when your standard rises, so does your life. So stop letting the world get to you before you get to yourself. Stop reacting to the day before you've even decided how you want to live it. You have a choice every single morning to own your focus or to lose it. Own your mood or let it be hijacked. Own your time or have it drained by distractions. And that choice begins with what you do in the first hour. Own that. You begin to own everything else. Most people don't live by design. They live by default. Their days are filled, their time is spent, and their energy is drained, but they don't know why. They wake up, dive into the rush. By the time the day ends, they've crossed off tasks but made no real progress. They've answered messages but ignored their mission. They've moved 100 times but gone nowhere meaningful. That's what happens when life is lived on autopilot. That's what happens when you operate without intentional design. But what if you flip that script? What if you decided that your days weren't something you just got through? They were something you shaped, built, and led with purpose. That's the essence of intentional living, designing your life with clarity, direction, and personal power. And the gateway to that life begins with how you start your day. The first hour isn't just about getting a head start. It's about setting the direction. It's about aligning yourself with what matters most before distractions can decide that for you. This isn't about squeezing in another productivity hack. It's about anchoring your day to the things that truly move the needle in your life. The habits, the mindset, the identity you want to cultivate. When you design your morning, you are designing your mindset. And when your mindset is deliberate, your actions follow. Your words, your energy, your posture, all of it is pulled into alignment. Living by default looks like this: wake up late, rush through your morning, check your phone, get pulled into tasks, skip breakfast, respond to whatever's loudest, get caught in distractions, feel overwhelmed by the middle of the day, and then repeat. You're not leading, you're reacting, you're not choosing, you're chasing. And worst of all, you start to believe this is normal. But intentional design isn't built on what's urgent. It's built on what's essential. It starts with asking better questions. What kind of person do I want to become today? What values do I want to embody? Energy do I want to bring to my environment? What actions would make this day meaningful, not just busy? These questions create alignment. And when your inner world is aligned, the outer world feels less chaotic. This is why the first hour matters so deeply. It's your daily chance to calibrate, to get clear, to remind yourself that you are not here to live life as a series of reactions. You're here to lead it with purpose. Leading your life doesn't require grand gestures or dramatic routines. It just requires consistent intention. Let's talk about the structure of that first hour. It doesn't have to be rigid. In fact, flexibility can still be intentional as long as you are leading the experience. Maybe the first 10 minutes are about centering yourself through stillness, breathing, or prayer. Maybe the next 10 minutes are dedicated to your physical body, movement, stretching, walking. Maybe the next 15 minutes are invested in learning, reading something nourishing, listening to a podcast, reviewing your goals. The key is you are choosing it on purpose. Even journaling can be a powerful anchor for intentional design. Writing down your thoughts, goals, or affirmations helps solidify your focus. It tells your mind, this is what matters today. And by doing that consistently, you begin to hardwire your brain to prioritize your voice over the noise of the world. Because let's face it, if you don't take time to program your own mind, the world will do it for you. Intentional living is also about emotional clarity. You start your day without direction, your emotions are at the mercy of randomness. One bad message or a stressful moment can hijack your whole mood. When you've already grounded yourself in intention, when you've taken time to prime your state, you're not so easily swayed. You have emotional resilience because you started with emotional awareness. Now, does this mean your day will go perfectly? Of course not. Life still throws curveballs, but the difference is how you show up to them. You don't meet the chaos with more chaos. You meet it with clarity. You don't let setbacks derail your identity. You respond from a place of strength. And that strength didn't magically appear. It was designed. It was practiced. It was built one morning at a time. The truth is, you're always designing something. Either you're designing a day that aligns with your values and vision, or you're unconsciously designing a day that reinforces stress, distraction, and burnout. There is no neutral. Every choice has a direction. Every habit is a vote for who you're becoming. So the question isn't, am I designing my life? The question is, what am I designing it around? Intentional design isn't about adding pressure. It's about claiming authorship. It's about recognizing that you are the architect of your day, not just the worker inside it. It's about getting ahead of your environment, not being swallowed by it. When you begin each day by making decisions that honor your future self, even small ones, you create an identity that's rooted in purpose. And here's the beauty: the compound effect is real. One day of intentional design feels good, but 30 days, 60, 100, you start to notice real change, not just in your productivity, in your peace, not just in your output, in your energy. You feel more connected to yourself. You stop feeling like you're chasing something out there because you're already building something in here. Your mornings are your daily opportunity to reconnect with your why, to zoom out from the grind and zoom in on what really matters, to check in with your goals, your heart, your character before the world demands your attention. And if you miss that window, it's not the end of the world. But when you protect that window, when you design it with intention, you reclaim the power most people forget they even have. You stop living on accident. You start living on purpose. And that purpose begins with how you wake up, how you breathe, how you focus, and how you speak to yourself before anyone else does. That's where alignment starts. That's where self-leadership is built. That's where life starts to feel not just busy, but meaningful. Because the life you want will not arrive by accident. It must be created intentionally. One morning at a time. Most people underestimate the power of the mind in shaping not just the day ahead, but the overall trajectory of their life. Your mind is not just a tool for thinking. It is a lens that colors your perception, a command center that filters your experience, a creative force that constructs your reality. When the mind is cluttered, the day feels heavier than it needs to. When the mind is sharp, clear, and centered, even difficult tasks feel lighter and more manageable. That's why the early morning hours are so valuable. They offer you the chance to prime your mindset before the world influences it. Mental clarity is not accidental. It has to be created, protected, prioritized, especially first thing in the morning. In the quiet moments before the noise begins, your brain is in a highly receptive state. Your subconscious is still active. Your emotional threshold is low, and your thoughts are more malleable. If you flood your mind immediately with distractions, messages, and demands, you scramble your focus and disrupt your emotional foundation for the day. But if you instead choose to guide your thoughts, direct your focus, and condition your emotional state with intention, you begin the day with strength, not stress. This is where emotional priming comes in. Emotional priming is the practice of deliberately triggering empowering emotions at the start of the day so that you can operate from a peak state, not a reactive one. Just like an athlete warms up their muscles before they compete, you need to warm up your emotional system before you engage with the pressures of life. If you don't, your emotional responses will be dictated by external events. But when you prime your emotions early, you set the tone. You define the standard. You decide how you want to feel, and you align your actions to match that state. There are many tools that can help you prime your emotions effectively, and they don't take long. A few minutes of gratitude can shift your entire emotional baseline. You consciously reflect on what's good in your life, what's working, or what you're thankful for. You activate a part of your nervous system that calms stress and increases optimism. This is not some fluffy idea. It's biological. Gratitude lowers cortisol, increases dopamine, and creates a more resourceful mental state. From that state, you think clearer, respond better, and make stronger decisions. Visualization is another powerful tool. You take even just a few moments to mentally rehearse success, to see yourself accomplishing your goals, overcoming challenges, showing up powerfully. Your mind starts to form neural pathways as if the event is already happening. This process not only boosts confidence, but it gives your brain a map to follow. It's as if you've already been there once in your mind. So when the situation arises in real life, you're more prepared. Your emotional system recognizes the feeling. You're not reacting, you're flowing. Breathwork and mindfulness also play a key role in mental clarity and emotional priming. When you begin your day with conscious breathing or a moment of stillness, activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the part responsible for rest, healing, and centeredness. Just a few deep breaths done with awareness can reduce anxiety and restore focus. It signals to the brain, you are safe, you are grounded, you are ready. And once your mind is clear and your emotions are primed, you become more intentional with your time. You're not chasing the next thing out of fear or stress. You're choosing your actions with purpose. That shift is subtle but life-changing. Because when your internal world is calm, the external world doesn't control you. You can walk into chaos without becoming chaotic. You can face challenges without being consumed by them. You become the thermostat, not the thermometer. You set the tone instead of being controlled by it. When most people feel anxious, unmotivated, or overwhelmed throughout the day, they think it's because of what's happening around them. But more often than not, it's because of how they started their day. They never gave themselves a chance to align internally. They rolled out of bed and immediately allowed the world to enter. And once that window is missed, it becomes harder to reset. This is why a consistent morning practice focused on clarity and emotional state is so powerful. It becomes your emotional insurance. No matter what the day throws at you, you've already built a foundation. You've already tapped into gratitude, purpose, focus. You've already trained your mind to look for solutions, not problems. You've already reminded yourself who you are, what you value, and how you want to show up. It's not about perfection. Some days will still be messy. The difference is you'll have more resilience, more patience, more clarity. You'll notice the noise without being consumed by it. You'll experience stress without being ruled by it. That capacity is what separates those who thrive from those who simply survive. Mental clarity and emotional priming don't require hours. You don't need to retreat to the mountains. You just need to pause long enough in the morning to direct your internal world. A 5-minute practice can change the next 5 hours. A clear mind can save you from a dozen wasted efforts. A calm emotional state can prevent a cascade of poor decisions. Most successful, fulfilled, and grounded people don't just wake up lucky. They wake up intentionally. They create clarity before confusion arises. They choose their emotions before the day chooses them. They prime their energy like a sculptor shapes clay. With care, with patience, and with purpose, you can do the same. And it begins with a decision, a simple commitment to start your morning with focus, with intention, and with emotional discipline. Because once your mind is clear and your emotions are elevated, you become the kind of person who doesn't just handle life, you lead it. The mind, when directed, becomes your most powerful ally. The emotions, when guided, become fuel for greatness. When you master both, especially in the first hour of your day, you become unstoppable. The body is not separate from the mind. It is a direct partner in how you think, feel, and act throughout the day. Too many people try to solve emotional problems purely with mental effort, forgetting that their physiology is the first and most powerful access point to energy, clarity, and confidence. When your body is dormant, stiff, or heavy, your thoughts follow, motivation drops. Your ability to focus and push through resistance shrinks. But when you move your body, even for a few minutes, you change the chemical makeup of your brain. You open the door to momentum. That's when the day begins to shift in your favor. Physical movement in the first hour of your day is not just about fitness. It's about activating your system. It's about waking up the parts of you that are built for action, resilience, clarity. When you move your body early, you aren't just exercising, you are setting your internal rhythm. You are declaring that your body's alive, your energy is rising, and your mind is ready to engage with the world. You're not waiting for motivation to come find you. You're creating it biologically. Even just a few minutes of movement triggers an entire cascade of neurochemical benefits. You increase blood flow to the brain, which sharpens focus and boosts mood. Release dopamine, the feel good chemical that fuels motivation and drive. You lower cortisol, the stress hormone that otherwise clings to your system and drags you down emotionally. And you elevate your heart rate just enough to signal to your body, it's time to engage. It's time to move forward. Let's go. This is especially important in the morning when your system is still transitioning out of sleep. Many people feel sluggish, foggy, or emotionally flat, not because they're lazy, because they're physically disconnected. Their posture is closed. Their breath is shallow. Their energy is stuck. So they reach for coffee or scroll their phones, hoping to wake up mentally, but they skip the fastest. Most natural way to get there, move your body, and movement doesn't mean intense workouts or grueling routines. It can be as simple as a 5-minute walk, light stretching, jumping jacks, yoga, bodyweight exercises, or dancing to music that energizes you. The method doesn't matter. What matters is the state you're creating, because the state you begin in has a massive impact on how the rest of your day unfolds. If you start slow and lethargic, it takes twice the effort to build momentum. If you start moving even just a little, you generate energy, and energy is contagious inside your own system. Think about it this way: the body leads, the mind follows. Have you ever noticed how your posture changes your confidence? You stand tall, breathe deep, and take up space, your mind naturally becomes more alert, more assertive. On the other hand, when you slump, shrink, and stay still, your thoughts become more negative, more hesitant. This isn't an attitude problem. It's a physiological reality. Your body tells your brain how to think, how to feel, how to interpret the world. That's why movement in the morning is so critical. It sets the standard for how your mind will operate. It's also about identity. When you move your body with purpose first thing in the morning, you are reinforcing a belief. I am active. I am strong. I take action. I move forward. That belief doesn't just stay in the gym or on the mat. It follows you into your conversations, your decisions, your work, your relationships. You feel more grounded. You show up with more conviction. You're less likely to procrastinate or overthink because you've already practiced forward motion physically, and that physical action primes your mental behavior. Momentum is one of the most important forces in life. When you have it, everything feels easier. Ideas flow, conversations feel smoother. Confidence builds naturally. But when you lose it, even the smallest task feels like a mountain. And momentum isn't something that just shows up. It has to be generated. Movement is the simplest, most accessible way to do that. When you build a habit of physical movement into your first hour, even just 5 to 15 minutes, you are telling yourself, I move first, I wait for nothing, I take control. That posture of ownership carries into the rest of your day. You'll walk into work with more energy. You'll sit at your desk with more focus. You'll enter tough conversations with more calm. You've already charged your system. So life doesn't hit you as hard. You've already created motion, so you don't get stuck in hesitation. And here's the deeper truth: movement isn't just about energy, it's about expression. Your body is a vessel of communication. You move intentionally, you are expressing life. You are shaking off fear, stiffness, and passivity. You are opening space for possibility, creativity, and power. So when you move your body each morning, not just improving your health, you are elevating your entire being. And if you miss a day, No guilt. This is not about perfection. It's about pattern. If you build the habit more often than not, the pattern becomes your norm. And that norm builds your lifestyle. The goal isn't to check off a box. The goal is to build a foundation that carries you, no matter what the day throws at you. Because here's the reality: life will challenge you. There will be stress. There will be doubt. There will be discomfort. But when you start your day with physical movement, you've already practiced meeting that resistance and moving anyway. You've trained your system to act. That is one of the most powerful skills a human can develop. So tomorrow, don't wait for motivation. Don't hope to feel ready. Get up, stand tall, move your body, and start building momentum. Not just for your health, but for your focus, your clarity, your power. Let movement be your morning medicine. Let it wake you up. Let it pull you forward. Let it remind you that you are not here to sit on the sidelines. You are here to move, to grow, to lead, and to live fully. It starts with a simple act of movement. One step, one stretch, one breath at a time. Every single day, whether you're aware of it or not, you're casting votes for the kind of person you're becoming. The thoughts you think, the actions you take, the habits you repeat, they are all shaping your identity. You're not simply waking up and surviving each day. You're building something. The most powerful thing you're building is your self-concept, your internal belief about who you are and what you're capable of. That identity doesn't change with big decisions made once in a while. It's forged in small, repeated acts of intention. That's why daily self-alignment, especially in the first hour of your day, is not just a good idea. It's essential. When you align with yourself early in the morning, you're not just preparing for the day. You are reconnecting with who you are, who you want to be, and how you want to live. It's a quiet but powerful act of self-respect. It's telling yourself, I'm not just here to exist. I'm here to evolve. Evolution doesn't happen by chance. It happens by choice, daily choice. This first hour, when used with purpose, becomes a sacred window, a space where you intentionally realign with your values, your vision, your mission before the noise of the world tries to pull you away from them. Because that's exactly what happens. If you don't define your focus, the world will define it for you. If you don't claim your priorities, distractions will do it for you. If you don't decide who you are, someone else or something else will. The most powerful identities are not built in the spotlight. They're built in the dark, quiet, early moments when no one's watching, no one's judging, no one's validating you. It's in those private victories and the discipline of showing up for yourself consistently that your sense of identity becomes unshakable. That's when you start to believe not just that you can change, that you already are changing. And that belief is the foundation of lasting transformation. When you start your day aligning with your highest self, the version of you that is focused, intentional, grateful, courageous, you start to behave in ways that reflect that version. Not just in the morning, but all day long. That's how alignment works. It's not just about what you do, but how what you do confirms what you believe about yourself. The more often your actions confirm a positive identity, the more effortlessly that identity becomes your reality. This is why rituals matter more than motivation. Motivation comes and goes. It's unreliable. A daily ritual of alignment, even if it's just 10 or 15 minutes, becomes a stable practice that shapes the core of who you are. Maybe it's journaling your thoughts, writing out your goals, speaking affirmations, or visualizing your future. Maybe it's reviewing your values, reminding yourself what matters most, or simply being still and reconnecting with your breath. The method doesn't matter as much as the meaning behind it. This is who I am. I show up for that version of me every single day. Too often, people try to chase confidence through achievement. They think, once I hit the goal, I'll feel worthy. Once I get the result, I'll feel strong. Once I win, I'll believe I'm enough. That's backwards. True confidence comes before the achievement. It comes from consistency, from self-respect, from alignment. It comes from waking up and doing what you said you do simply because you respect yourself too much not to. That's the kind of internal trust that can't be faked. It's built, earned, layered over time. And here's the secret: alignment doesn't always feel exciting. Sometimes it feels repetitive. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's just doing the little things, writing a few thoughts, moving your body, breathing, reflecting, choosing your mindset. But that's where the gold is. Because you're training your nervous system, your thoughts, your beliefs to follow a higher standard, a standard that isn't based on mood, but on mission. Your identity, once aligned, becomes your anchor. On the hard days, you don't crumble because your sense of self isn't built on temporary wins. It's built on consistency, on intention, on the proof that you keep showing up even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. And when that's who you are, life starts to respond differently. Opportunities open. People notice. Most importantly, you notice that you're no longer trying to be something, you're embodying it. This process is not just personal development, it's identity creation. You're evolving from the inside out. You're building character, not just skill. You're creating a self-image that says, I don't need to wait for the world to validate me. I validate myself through how I live. That level of self-alignment is rare and powerful. It's all rooted in what you do daily, especially in the earliest part of the day when your mind is still clean, your emotions are still soft, and your direction is still yours to choose. That's the window where you decide, who am I becoming today? How will I show up? What will I no longer tolerate? What will I honor in myself? Regardless of what the world throws at me, you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to show up consistently, consciously, with care, because every time you do, you are shaping your identity, not the one the world gave you, the one you chose. This is what daily self-alignment, not checking a box, not performing for others, but remembering who you are, who you're becoming one morning at a time.